Hey everyone, thanks for joining today. In case anyone's interested, I just noted that I crossed 11,500 steps for the day. However, that is not a storage lens metric, so you're on your own with that one. My name is Mark Kalis. I'm Principal Product Manager with Amazon S3, and my co-presenter is Pino Suleiman, Senior Product Manager with Amazon S3. Today we have some exciting updates for you on a new storage lens capability that allows you to extend your storage observability to Amazon CloudWatch and beyond. Our agenda for today is first we're going to be doing a recap of the Storage Lens product. Then we'll go into the new CloudWatch publishing feature for Storage Lens. We'll also talk about the pricing and configuration steps for the new feature, and we'll have detailed use cases on how you can apply Storage Lens metrics in Amazon CloudWatch. Then we'll reveal some of the integrated partners that are already set up to help you use Amazon CloudWatch to access Storage Lens metrics. And then we'll close with the key takeaways from today's presentation. So Storage Lens is about a year old, but the origin story for the product goes back several years before that. We heard feedback from customers over the years that pointed us directionally to three main types of customer needs. The first was the need for visibility into the storage. Customers were telling us that they were spending too much time and effort to go bucket by bucket and account by account to understand more about how they're using their storage. Second, they were asking for more granular visibility into individual buckets in their accounts to be able to understand things like storage allocations and prefix level details in the bucket. And third, they were asking for actionability to be able to go and implement changes to their storage, to implement S3 best practices, or to better make use of the S3 feature set. In addition to hearing this type of customer feedback, we also encountered customers that had taken matters into their own hands. They had gone and built their own homegrown solutions where they would ingest data from S3, such as S3 inventory reports or S3 access logs. And they would pull that into a large big data system, such as Athena or Redshift, and then they would do a nightly processing on that data. And in the end, they would create insights that they could present in internal dashboards, like an Amazon QuickSight dashboard. And these customers were pretty happy with these types of insights, but they were concerned about how much maintenance was involved to keep those solutions up and running. And so they came to us to help solve that. And at the same time, we also had many other customers that simply didn't have the resources or inclination to build that kind of solution for themselves. So we set about to solve this problem for all customers. And that's what led us to release S3 Storage Lens, which happened 1 year and 1 week ago today. That was actually at reInvent 2020, which was all virtual. This is much more interesting being here in person to talk to you today. So for those who aren't aware of Storage Lens or maybe are just hearing about it for the first time, I'll summarize what the product is in 5 bullets. First of all, it's an interactive dashboard that is built right into the S3 console experience, and it's free to all customers, set up automatically for you in your account. Secondly, it gives you organization-wide visibility so that you can collect usage information across all of your accounts in a single view. Third, it provides drill-down capabilities so that you can quickly go from that top level of account or organization and drill down to things like region, storage class, bucket, or even prefix. And fourth, Storage Lens is very much about metrics. There's 29 total metrics that give you granular insight into usage and activity. And finally, it includes recommendations that appear alongside the metrics to help you understand how to make actionable changes to your storage, to implement S3 best practices for cost efficiency or data protection. So now I'm going to go through a few of these, each of these individually, starting with the interactive dashboard experience. So when we speak with customers, we often hear two points of feedback, that they really like the dashboard experience. The first thing is they appreciate that it's automatically configured for you. So you don't have to think about how to lay out the dashboard, what are the right metrics to show. It's already set up, and it's also pre-configured in the sense that it's preloaded with 14 days of data. So even if you've never used it, you could go in there today, and it's already set up with data, and you could just jump right in. The other thing customers like is the interactivity and the ability to do interactive drill down and charting. It enables you to slice and dice across different dimensions and quickly get answers about your storage. The second big benefit of using Lens is that it gives you the organization-wide visibility. The dashboards by default are at the account level, but if you have access to your AWS management account, or you've been given delegated access by the management account, you can go in and create a new organization level dashboard in StorageLens. This is going to collect your usage across all of your accounts, so you can get that centralized view across everything. And then you can still drill down to individual accounts and get account level insights as well from that same dashboard. The third thing about Lens is that it has the drill down dimensions. The metrics are all pre-aggregated at these various levels, so you can start at an organization and account and go down as you drill down deeper to answer more questions by region, by storage class, by bucket, even prefix. Prefixes are the folder structure inside your buckets. These enable you to get the granular insight, and this is the first S3 feature that's ever presented prefix level insights. The things customers are using prefix level insights for example, they use it for large shared buckets like data lakes, and they use the prefixes to determine which internal departments or teams are using the data lake the most, and then they can do internal storage allocations or even chargebacks. A second use case is for multi-tenant customers who have large buckets that are shared with multiple customers where each customer equates to a prefix. They are using this type of reporting from StorageLens to be able to perform profitability analysis on individual customers and even to do billbacks to the customers for their storage usage. Fourth thing is the granular metrics of StorageLens. As I said before, there's 29 of them. They span two main categories. There's storage usage and storage activity. Within those, there's 4 different use cases that we group the metrics into. First, you have summary metrics that are meant for top-line insights, things like your total storage and your object count, your average object size, just to stay on top of the top-level details. Next are the cost efficiency metrics that point to some indicators of how you might be able to reduce your storage costs. Third is data protection metrics. These inform you on how your organization is doing on implementing any of your security or replication best practices. And lastly, activity metrics, which help you understand how many gets, inputs, bytes downloaded, et cetera, so you understand what are your hot versus cold buckets. And the fifth thing about StorageLens is that it gives you recommendations. The recommendations are appearing contextually alongside the metrics in the dashboards, and they're triggered based on parameters. So they don't show up necessarily for everyone or on every day. And those triggers are changing and evolving, and so you can expect them to improve over time, and you'll see different recommendations. Currently, there are 3 main types of recommendation use cases. There's an outlier callout that appears that helps you understand if you have spikes upward or downward in your storage. It analyzes your data over the last 30 days and tells you if that's a normal expected spike or an unusual one. It's something worth looking into. The second use case is for cost efficiency. This is where we scan different types of metrics that could be an indicator where you could save money. A very popular one that we have is the incomplete multi-part upload bytes recommendation. Incomplete multi-part bytes occur when you're uploading very large objects and they're being split into multiple parts. And for whatever reason, you might have forgotten to complete the upload process. These incomplete parts are sitting in your account, and those are accruing as unusable objects, and they're accruing costs. And so many customers forget about those, and StorageLens helps you identify those, and then you can take action by creating lifecycle rules that automatically expire those from your buckets. Sorry. And then the last use case is for data protection recommendations. For these, you can target different best practices you have around encryption, replication, object lock. For example, we have customers that use this metric to identify new buckets that were created by teams, where internal engineering teams, where they forgot to apply encryption. They can quickly flag those within a few days and go and talk to that team and get that addressed. So now that I've summarized up what StorageLens is, I'd like to circle back to the integrated console experience. So as I mentioned before, customers really like the quick and easy ad hoc analysis that they can perform, the interactivity of the dashboard itself. Another thing they really like is the fact that it's integrated with the rest of the S3 console workflow. So as you're working through your different tasks in the console, you're always just a few clicks away from being able to go into StorageLens and get some insights to answer questions about your storage. You don't have to go and switch to a different tool or a different interface. So many customers really like that, and we continue to believe that that is the right experience for customers, and we're gonna be continuing to lean into that going forward. Case in point, earlier this year, we released what we call the account snapshot for StorageLens. This appears on the buckets list page, which is the first page you land on when you enter the S3 console. This gives you several key statistics that are summed up for your storage through the previous day. So you have your total bytes, some request activity. Enables you to take a quick glance at these top level metrics as you're coming in. And if you see something amiss, you can click into the viewed StorageLens dashboard, and in one click, you're in a dashboard and you can investigate further. And if everything looks fine, then you just go about your way and completing your task. So we've heard from customers that this kind of contextual insights, and in general, the StorageLens dashboard experience is really positive. But also in our customer conversations, we're hearing some customers on the other end of the spectrum. Their feedback is the opposite. They don't really want another dashboard to look at. They don't really like having the dashboard here. They'd rather see things in a centralized view because they're accustomed to doing monitoring in some other tool. And that's actually what leads us to our big release that came out just last week, which is the new Amazon CloudWatch publishing option for S3 StorageLens. With this feature, you turn it on per dashboard. It's an optional feature. It enables you to sync all 29 metrics into your Amazon CloudWatch account on a daily basis. Once they're there, you can start doing centralized monitoring across all of your AWS applications, including now StorageLens. And then you can further extend your storage monitoring using the CloudWatch API, because the CloudWatch API now sits in front of the StorageLens metrics. You can develop custom applications on the CloudWatch API, and then you could also provision access to AWS partners in the observability and analytics space. So all in all, what we're doing here is we're basically just making it easier for you to access StorageLens metrics and use the metrics however and wherever you want them. So let's break down some of the advantages of the two different ways that you can now access StorageLens metrics. So on the left-hand side, you have the StorageLens console experience, and on the right-hand side, you have the StorageLens CloudWatch option that's just becoming available. So for the overlapping piece in the middle, on both sides, you have access to all 29 usage and activity metrics from StorageLens. You have 15 months of historical data, and you have some form of interactive charting. Then on the StorageLens console experience, as we said before, there's an integrated console experience. That's a big advantage. It means you can access it from the same place where you're doing other management changes in the console. Secondly, there's the aspect of being pre-configured, so that you don't have to worry about how to lay it out or what are the right metrics to show. Third one, this is an important one, the prefix level insights are only available through the StorageLens console. That's not something you can get in CloudWatch. And then fourthly, similarly, recommendations are also only available in the console. That's exclusive to the console. On the right-hand side with the CloudWatch option, there's a whole bunch of new things you can do. You have the ability to do the unified cross-service views across multiple applications. You also have customizability that's previously not possible with StorageLens. You can lay out charts and graphs differently. You can do stacking of multiple metrics on the same chart. And you can even do custom metrics using CloudWatch. The third big benefit on the right side is the ability to use CloudWatch alarms and triggered actions. Alarms is actually the #1 customer request for StorageLens going back to launch. Basically, what customers have told us is they really like the dashboard, but they're not going to remember to go in there every day or even every week. And so they want to do some kind of proactive alarming. So rather than recreate the wheel, we're integrating with CloudWatch to be able to use those alarms on StorageLens. And then fourth, as I mentioned before, the API access. We have the CloudWatch APIs now sitting in front of the StorageLens metrics. You can access those programmatically. It enables you to more easily ingest the metrics. And then you can also open up access to AWS partners. So now I'll take a couple minutes to review pricing and configuration. So what I'm going to show you with the StorageLens pricing is that this continues to be a very simple pricing model. And we've taken steps to make sure that you don't get double charged by CloudWatch for the metrics themselves. So StorageLens pricing is a simple two-tier model. There's a free version and a paid version. The free version is enabled for every customer account, and you have 15 usage metrics that are aggregated at the bucket level as the lowest level of granularity. And you automatically get 14 days of data with that. And then if you have chosen to upgrade to the advanced version, you get a whole bunch of more capabilities here. So you get 29 total metrics, which includes the activity metrics, and you get the deeper granularity down to prefix level, significantly more historical data going back 15 months, which is really great for being able to chart out and do trending on your data for longer term. And then also you have the recommendations built in to this tier, as well as the new CloudWatch publishing option. And all this comes for 20 cents per million objects per month. For the typical customer bill is something like $50 to $100 a month, and it's roughly 1% of the S3 bill. And the way we have this structured is we hope for customers that they see this as a low-cost insurance policy that protects them from increased growth of their storage, unnecessary growth of their storage. And we've seen customers that are saving 15, 20% in the first few weeks of turning it on. We've also even had one customer that saved 70% by using StorageLens to identify buckets that didn't have lifecycle policies set up on them. So let me double click on the CloudWatch aspect of this. So as I said, the metrics charges are completely covered in StorageLens, so you won't pay any additional fees from CloudWatch for the metrics themselves. However, do note that the other CloudWatch features, like using alarming or dashboards or doing API calls, all those will still be billed by CloudWatch. In case that's not clear, let me do a quick pricing example. I'll take a hypothetical customer that has 1 billion objects and 20 accounts. So for their storage observability solution, using StorageLens and CloudWatch, that's going to have a total cost of $233 a month. And the way the components of these work out, so you have StorageLens coming in at 20 cents per million, that's going to be $200 a month. Let's say maybe you already have that turned on, so that's not a new bill or anything, or maybe it's a new bill, depends. And then when you turn on CloudWatch, the metrics are waived because we're covering that in StorageLens, and so you're just going to have fees on alarming and dashboarding. So let's just say you have let's assume you have 5 alarms, 1 dashboard. That's going to come to a total of $33 a month in additional charges to extend this into CloudWatch. So now I'll talk about quickly how you do the setup on this. Now remember, this is an optional feature. It's not on by default, so you have to go in and turn it on if you want to send your metrics to CloudWatch. And to do that, you go onto the dashboard configuration page for the dashboard in StorageLens, and then you toggle to the advanced version if you're not already using it, and then you see that middle tile that you can check off. Once that's turned on, you just wait 24 hours, and you'll start seeing your metrics in CloudWatch. The way it looks in CloudWatch is you'll see a new S3 StorageLens namespace. The namespace in CloudWatch, that concept is basically like a container to separate out your metrics to keep them organized by different services and different sources. Notice that there's also an S3 namespace next to it. That's for the existing CloudWatch S3 metrics that we're already providing, and those are different. And I'll talk about the differences between those two in a minute. First, let me drill into what's inside the granularity of the StorageLens metrics namespace. So we're going to be pushing 5 levels of granularity for these metrics. And it depends, which ones you can use depends on which track you're on, if you're on the org level track or the account level track. For the org level track, you're getting 3 different levels of granularity. The metrics will be summarized by organization and account, or by organization and bucket. Basically, we're giving you 3 different options there depending on what your monitoring strategy is. If you're looking to do an all-up monitoring on an entire organization, you have that option, or you can do it per account or per bucket. And then similarly for the account level track, this is for anybody who's using account level dashboards, your metrics will show up here, and you have the account level roll-up and then the per bucket roll-up. And then for each of these, notice that you have further granularity within them per storage class, per region. So you can do really, really granular monitoring here. We have customers that are looking at doing monitoring at the individual storage class level to be able to identify buckets that are using a high percentage of standard storage class. That's one example use case that we heard. So coming back to the concept of the S3 CloudWatch metrics, you might be wondering, hey, I'm already using this. What's the advantage of using Storage Lens metrics, or what's the difference? So the big difference here, one obvious difference is there's the number of metrics. There's 18 CloudWatch metrics today. There's 29 Storage Lens metrics. The Storage Lens metrics includes 13 net new metrics. The biggest difference between these two options is that S3 CloudWatch metrics are on a 1-minute refresh. And so those are built for more of a traditional monitoring use case. If you're doing intraday monitoring of your request activity, you clearly would need to stick with the existing CloudWatch metrics. That's what those are built for. However, Storage Lens is on a daily refresh. So this is a different use case. This is built for long-term trending and analysis. If you're doing kind of a strategic evaluation of how your storage is being used, or you're just looking at longer-term trends. This is where this comes into play, and you get the additional metrics, 13 more metrics, things like non-current versions and encryption, and then you have storage class level granularity, and finally you have org level summarization, which is another convenient factor of Storage Lens because you already have an organization level view. We can now push that entire view into CloudWatch, and then you don't have to worry about creating an org level view in CloudWatch because we've already done the aggregation for you. Okay, with that, I'm going to hand it over to my presenting partner, Pino. And by the way, tomorrow is Pino's birthday. So he's a reInvent baby.
Good job, Luck. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Mark. And yeah, happy to be here and celebrate at reInvent with all of you. So what we're going to do next, I'm going to take you through some of the useful use cases that are now possible by accessing S3 Storage Lens metrics data via CloudWatch. So the first use case I would like to cover is the ability to create centralized dashboards with CloudWatch dashboards. So something we've been hearing from our customers is that they would like to share their S3 Storage Lens data with users No, I got it wrong. Yeah, talking about a different use case. So in this use case, we actually go back to a foundational need that our customers are asking us, mainly centralized operational and security teams. These type of teams are responsible for monitoring multiple applications that span services, accounts, and regions. To simplify this process, they're asking us for the ability to use their existing CloudWatch dashboards to analyze their S3 Storage Lens metrics alongside with other AWS metrics that they're currently monitoring. The idea here is that instead of using the S3 Storage Lens dashboard, yet just as another dashboard, our customers can now integrate S3 Storage Lens metrics into their existing dashboards to create a unified cross-service, cross-account, and cross-region experience. Let's take, for example, a security team use case. Security teams are responsible for monitoring the security posture of their organization. Now, instead of having to go through multiple dashboards and go back to the Storage Lens data protection metrics, they can now integrate those metrics, for example, the unencrypted object count metric, into their existing CloudWatch dashboards that they're using to monitor their security posture. Another benefit of using CloudWatch is the ability to use the easy and simple permission to share dashboards with multiple users. So another common ask that we've been hearing from our customers is that they would like to share S3 Storage Lens data across teams with multiple stakeholders and sometimes even with users that are external to their organization. The challenge is that not always these users have access to the Storage Lens dashboard or even an active AWS account. Now, by using CloudWatch dashboards, our customers can share S3 Storage Lens data with customers that even don't have an active AWS account and even embed Storage Lens metrics into internal or public web pages. Just as a recap, so CloudWatch provides 3 options for sharing dashboards with other users. The first option is by designating a specific email for user to access the dashboard. Then these users have to set up their own dashboard, their own password, and enter it anytime they would like to view the dashboard. Second option is to create a public dashboard, and then anyone who has the link for this dashboard can view it. And with the third option, you can share all the dashboard in your account by using a single sign-on solution. Then every user that is on the single sign-on solution provider list can access the dashboard in your account. The third benefit of using CloudWatch Dashboard is the advanced level of customization that is available there. So I'm going to talk about two types of customizations, dashboard customization and metrics customization. Starting with dashboards, while we heard from our customers that they really like the pre-configured and the default dashboards that are available in StorageLens that enables them to onboard quickly to the service, some other customers ask for greater flexibility in customizing their own dashboards. CloudWatch provides a lot of flexibility and a lot of options for customizing your own dashboards. For example, you can choose multiple type of chart styles. You can combine multiple metrics to be presented in a single chart and even configure your own color scheme for these charts. The second type of customization is in terms of metrics. So we've also been hearing from a lot of customers that they would like to calculate or derive their own metrics based on existing and available metrics within StorageLens. CloudWatch has a feature called Metrics Math. With this feature, you can use math expressions to create and calculate your own metrics. You can use averages, standard deviation, conditional logics, and a lot of other operations to come up with your new customized metrics. Just to name a few examples, let's say that you have bucket versioning enabled in your account. A useful use case would be to look at the percentage of non-current version objects for your workloads. So non-current version objects are created when you have versioning in your buckets, and while this adds you another layer of data protection, it also generates additional cost. So by having these metrics and monitoring it, you can identify workloads that are creating way too many non-current version objects. Another two interesting examples would be to create custom metrics for the retrieval rate and for the ingestion rate. With this, you can better monitor your storage activity and have better control on storage in your account. Next use case we're going to cover is how to set up proactive alarm on any S3 StorageLens metrics. Again, as Mark mentioned, this is one of the top requests from our customers, and now we can actually do that. CloudWatch offers a built-in capability called Alarms and Triggered Actions. This enables you to configure an alarm on any of the S3 StorageLens metrics, specify a threshold for when to alarm, and use SNS notification as an alarming mechanism. When we're talking about CloudWatch alarms, we also have to mention anomaly detection. So anomaly detection is just another way to create alarms, but instead of specifying your own threshold, you let CloudWatch to use statistical model to analyze historical metric performance and to come up with a baseline normal range for that metrics. Then anytime the metric value falls outside of this baseline range, you will get alerted. Let's look at a few examples of where we can use anomaly detection and set up alarm to monitor our storage. For example, you could monitor your storage growth size and identify any changes in trends in your storage. You can do that by either looking at your storage bytes, set up an anomaly detection alarm on that, or on your object counts. Another useful example would be to look at non-current versions to identify any anomaly detection, as we mentioned in our previous use case. And there is another useful example, which is that you can set up anomaly detection to identify incomplete multi-part uploads or incomplete MPUs. This really gives you some peace of mind to identify any buckets that start to accumulate either MPUs on non-current versioning. Then you can identify them and address them by either removing them manually or setting up your lifecycle policies to expire those going forward. For our fifth and our last use case, we have API-based access for S3 storage length metrics data. We learned from our customers that they would like to access S3 storage length metrics data for observability and as an input for their observability and analytics toolings. For example, we learned that they're using the metrics data to join them with other internal data sets that include information about other metrics, or they're using storage length metrics data as input for machine learning models to inform forecasting and budgeting. Our customers were doing that by using the metrics export function that is available in storage length today. This is a way of exporting your metrics by either a CSV file or an Apache Parquet file that is being saved on a bucket within your account. From there, you can build in your automated processing to move this data into your analytic environment. However, our customers have been constantly asking us for a simpler and a better way to access storage length data by using an API. And today, by using the CloudWatch Get Metrics API, customers have better access to this data. Customers can leverage this existing API. In fact, this was a key motivation for us to build this support together with CloudWatch, because we learned that customers prefer to use an established an existing API, just like CloudWatch has, rather than having us building a brand new API. One call out I'd like to make is that this function does not support the metric streams, the CloudWatch metric stream function. And the reason being that is that storage length publishes its metrics once a day, and it's not ideal for streaming use cases. So that is the reason why we don't have support for metric streams. Now, this feature not only makes it easier for our customers to access storage length metrics data easily, but also opens up a bunch of new opportunities and use cases for our partners. In fact, we've been in touch and we've been talking with our partners about the possibility of integrating S3 storage length metrics into their platform. And I'm thrilled to make an announcement about an update today. So as of this moment, I can confirm that these partners that we can see on the screen are fully integrated and fully tested with storage length metrics in their platforms. We can see all of these partners that are in the observability and analytics segment and include Datadog, Dynatrace, Elastic, Moogsoft, and PagerDuty. By the way, some of these have active booth in our expo today. All of these partners are powering their platform with storage length metrics data. That means that if any of you is also a customer of these partners, you can access your storage length metrics data through these platforms. I encourage you to go out and just check in this partner's booth that we have in the expo and just ask for more information about this integration. Just some example of how this data would look on their platform. So this is an example from the Datadog dashboard, and also have another example of the Elastic dashboard. As we wrap up our presentation, let me just recap some of the key details and the takeaways I would like you to take from our talk today. First is regarding enablement. Remember, this is an optional feature and basically a premium option that is not enabled by default. to benefit from CloudWatch access into the storage lens metrics data, you actively have to go to your storage lens dashboard and enable, by checking one checkbox, this functionality. Second thing I like to cover is the pricing. Once again, this is a premium functionality, and it is enabled only for storage lens advanced users. That means that if you have the free tier user, you'll have to upgrade your dashboard to the advanced version. I mean, don't worry, because the good news is that you're not going to get double charge from this feature, because the charges for this capability are already included in our advanced lens pricing model. Third part I'd like to iterate is the greater flexibility that we have with CloudWatch feature. So I covered some of the use cases that now are possible. We talk about sharing dashboards, we talk about creating centralized dashboard, and we talk about how you can set multiple alarms, including anomaly detection alarms, on the storage lens metrics. And lastly, I would like to remind you about our API access. Either you want directly access it as a user, or you are a partner or interested to power your platform with storage lens metrics. Today you have an easy way to access this data through our API. That's all for today. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed our conversation. And Mark and I are going to hang around for a while to take your question, or even just to say hello. Thank you very much.